An eminent monk is meditating. Saw something terrible. A huge wave thousands of meters high, up the Himalayas, but he wasn't afraid. In the face of such oppression, he still calmly rings for the poet. Ancestor worship at the end of the day. In the next second, a relentless tsunami engulfed the entire temple. Then the sea raged in the valley. Planes parked at the base are smaller than toys. Waves of seawater emerge. Kyushu, the last hope of human civilization. No rafting. 2012 was a very special annual report. Only experienced that era. I just found out at that time what a state of panic the world is in. All over the world. Rumors of the end of the world predicted by the Mayans, due to the 3 Mayan prophecies, to have been accurately achieved. This last doomsday prophecy promises. How many people believe it? Hollywood even took advantage of the opportunity to make a film. Epic disaster blockbuster. Iraq realistic doomsday scenes. It scared millions of people. It has also made many people. An unforgettable classic. Let's review this one together. A classic from 15 years ago. How impressive. The story begins in India in 2009. Because the American geologist C.H. came to visit his Indian friend. Sartre. Sutter said his brother in India monitored it. Data these, most likely due to the eruption of a solar storm, causing a skyrocketing number of midpoints to reach Earth. And here's what's even scarier. After these neutrons physically react with the Earth, burst into a new nuclear particle, the temperature of the Earth's crust is continuing to rise. It is expected that in 2012, humanity will face an unprecedented extinction catastrophe. The President of the United States was informed of the seriousness of the situation. An international conference was called immediately and urgently. The heads of state jointly developed a set of ark plans, attempt to preserve it with the ark. And the last seeds of human civilization. The world's highest peak, Mount Everest. The best place to unconsciously see the ark, because then the expansion of the Earth's core will cause 8 days of tsunami. The highest income can only be guaranteed at the highest point. The acquisition rate is due to the huge amount of support required by the project. Countries are looking for rich people to sell tickets. Each ticket costs 1 billion euros. In the blink of an eye, 2012 came. During this period of disaster, but the normal version has no way of knowing the implementation. So I don't care about that. Male protagonist John came camping in Yellowstone with 2 kids. The ship fell to a clean place. I was surprised to find that the lake water here actually inexplicably evaporated. The remaining pools are still boiling and bubbling. John Bassoon appeared and drove him away. Night. John also met a stunning Mayan believer. He told John that the doomsday prophecy was about to come true. He also said that it is necessary to determine the plan that came to be secretly executed and has been assassinating people who want to break the news. He has already lamented the specific location of the ark and put it on the map. Contract doesn't agree. Think it's just a bunch of nonsense from believers. Next day, the ex-wife is shopping with her boyfriend at the supermarket. The whole ground suddenly splits in 2. But today is the 21st of December, the end of the Mayan prophecy. A piece of Earth. The event rings the golden bell for governments around the world. Rich people who bought tickets received the ark plan one after another. Startup information. This batch of Johns just sent the children to his ex-wife's house. His boss, Yuri, called. Yeah. John. The fruit stand opened and 2 children sent it to his private. After the plane, Dan Han met them at their destination. The 2 children suddenly started mocking. At this moment, John vaguely felt that something was wrong. Could it be that crazy old man? It's all true. Until he saw the false ground suddenly crack. He felt he couldn't just sit back and wait. So I went to the side warehouse, leased the plane with the watch his boss gave him, then quickly drive the boss's luxury car, returning to his ex-wife's house. A family of 4 enjoying breakfast in a warm atmosphere. Suddenly the earth shook violently. 4 people threw themselves into the city for emergency refuge. Then John barged in outside the village gate. Then tell them to leave quickly. At the request of John's predecessor, I hurried outside. Look back. The house has collapsed into rubble. At this time, there are also cracks in the ground on the road. Infinite sprawl. Because the door is on the accelerator, driving fast on the constantly tearing road. But the old lady in front drove the vehicle, but blocked the way. In desperation, Jack had to overtake from the side house. Tonight I saw the old man, who is still taking his time, hit the ground of the body, accelerated sprint nails, burst sewer pipe, touch their car's eyes directly, break a flyover. Let the cars above go off the road one after another. The earth is constantly divided. They linger at the gates of hell again and again, right yearning for life along the way. The collapsed high-rise building ahead, it seems to cut off their way of life. Desire to survive. Under death, John broke the iron pillar, experienced a near-death life. They finally arrived at the airport, but found that the pilot who had agreed in advance, still in the blood. The ex-wife suddenly remembered. Boyfriend, Tom used to take several online lessons for pilots. Love doesn't care so much. It's dead anyway. Let Tom fly the plane directly to escape. As soon as the plane started, the runway began to collapse rapidly. But they appear again and again. Gotta take off at the last minute. In the blink of an eye. When you come down to Earth, you become a piece of blue wool. Because even if the speed is not enough, they can only be in cities that are constantly falling apart. Low-altitude flight. Legend has it that it was just an ordinary life. But I didn't expect the end to come. After the plane stabilizes at high altitude, you can see the whole continent behind you have sunk into the sea. Others say the current delay. I'm going to Fahrenheit Mountain Park looking for an old Toyota. He has a map there. Maybe it will keep them in the end. Survive. It didn't take long for them to reach their destination. I asked my ex-wife to fill up the plane with gasoline. He went looking for the crazy old man. The daughter said she would also run. But when he got to the old man's recording, but found it empty. So he just took the RV and looked around. Finally found the old man at the top of the mountain. He excitedly asked for the location of the map. The old man said the map was on the shelf of the RV, and made it clear that he would not leave. At this time, the flock of birds in the pioneer forest suddenly took flight. This must be an ominous sign of a great disaster. Mayan immediately took his daughter and drove away. They just left. There was a sudden thunderclap in the distant mountains. Surging of the edges rises in the air. Mushroom rain bigger than Hiroshima. A strong shock wave makes it within 100 miles. No grass grows. Countless fireballs, little youngstone spots fell from the sky. Mayans looked at this magnificent scene. Incomparable prosperity. Since the end comes early, I don't die calmly. At this time, the victim had been driven to the foot of the mountain. Even with ancestral snakeskin, I haven't been able to completely escape this curse. Fortunately, it just blew up the parking space. Ex-wife. I've been waiting by the plane for almost an hour. I finally saw John coming at a high speed in his car. Being that the two sides are about to meet, combine. The earth ahead cracked a harmful goo river. Nayhanman step on the accelerator, leap past life. A safe landing. The contract case quickly handed the daughter to his ex-wife. From a map to find the ark in the car. But just found the RV and fell into the abyss. Looking at the feet as if. The terrible disability of the 18th hell. Tenacious survival within. John climbs up again. The rolling extension behind him is like a judge urging his life. Under this persistent run, finally grabbed his ex-wife's arm and climbed onto the plane. But because the acceleration is too late, the plane was teetering low in the sky, until the second half of the fire did not completely devour it. It is the aura of the protagonist that allows them to see again, escaped again. I can't wait to check the map of Wenzhou, discover the location of Noah's Ark. Tibet in China. Shandong Road requires a bigger plane to fly. Then they came to Las Vegas. It's a mess here. Running through the airport. At this time, HUA Shenzhou on the other side. Members of the Heavy Highlight have been flown on Air Force One. Go to Ark Base. Only the president decided to stay. Advance and retreat with the people. He has now announced the end of the country. But the Ark is still hidden. He is in Las Vegas. Arth's airport saw his boss traveling. He knows travel. There is a plane that can fly to China. Baby, the co-pilot is missing. The other side seizes the opportunity. They say that they can win the dream home. The two sides hit it off. Although the operating system of this aircraft is completely different. But fortunately, Tom, who knows the basics under the guidance of Bao do not. Can you barely get on? They appear to be flying away from the area, a continent that no longer exists. But the plane doesn't have enough fuel. They need to resupply in Hawaii. But the tragedy is, Hawaii has become a living hell. The energy is only enough to support the South China Sea. They can only make an emergency landing at sea. Ichue Shengren here. The air is filled with nuclei. Domestic gray of skin tone. The president in the crowd intends to survive with them. Suddenly the ground moved violently. A 9.4 level umbrella fell out of peanuts. Collapsed. Smoke blanketed the entire city. Wait until the dust settles. Sun Wukong was horrified to find what was 40 in front of him. Of course a big thing. Aircraft carriers are crushed like toys. The White House could never have imagined. One day it will be crushed by its own country's aircraft carrier. Group. Air Force One on its way to Tibet, China. Drunk in the Little Black found the Earth. Earth tide tilted 23 degrees southwest. North and South poles are displaced. 2 levels reversed. John, the planes here have also arrived in the South China Sea. But the fuel is running out. Just as they were about to make a crash landing to survive. Discover a piece of Wangyang that should have appeared. Now it has become a mountain of ice and snow. Land should be cheap in the end. The Tibetan plateau moved to the original South China Sea region. It can only be built on glaciers. At this time, local tyrants have an ideal way. He has dozens of luxury cars in the plane yard. Just open the rear door on the broken pilot and drive the vehicle back to the ground safely. But such a reasonable bodyguard driver can't escape. If you are lucky, you can still miss it if you successfully break the cocoon. Bad luck can only melt opportunities. Obviously he is the latter. Past, the saddest thing is the rich and reasonable young girlfriend. At this moment, several military aircraft suddenly appeared in the sky. It seems to be transporting various animals to rafting streamer. Several people desperately waved for help. The plane was discovered by the Japanese officer. Their hearts are really fading into memories. Koi in the Covenant case did not expect to be saved. Only people with Noah's rollover ticket. To be saved, it makes sense to only buy tickets for myself and to S. girlfriend for secretly browsing with bodyguards. Abandoned by rational decision long ago. Watching the helicopter drift away. The hope of survival for a few people also disappeared. There's no way a ticket has 1 billion mail carrier. Ordinary people can't afford it. Not even the previous qualifications. John and the others can only continue to move forward in confusion. Just then a truck drove by. The limbs of the contract caught a life-saving straw. Crazy shouting by the roadside finally got the truck driver's attention. For seasons is the address of the mountains in Tibet, although the language is different. But I still can't bear to see death. Coincidentally, Noah was the one who went to the shelf of Shaoxing base. His brother was performing the functions of the ark. Know how to sneak into the ark. I just wanted to take my brother and grandparents away. But suddenly there are so many more people. He was also very embarrassed. Kate also knows that this is scolded by the strong man. I can only beg to be able to take away the 2 children. This move moved Grandma. Under his cigarette. My brother promised to bring everyone in. At the same time, high-level officials from various countries have arrived at the ark base. Looking at the 9 huge Noah's arks in front of you, they are all amazed by China's construction industry. 9 such arks were built in 2 years. Mysterious machine. Or they are also difficult to do. Except for those rich people who spend exorbitant amounts on ferry tickets, drizzle borders. They are all carefully selected elite scientists. They must ensure the continuation of the human spark. Have good genes. But I just boarded the ship not long ago. A shocking howl hundreds of meters high emerged from India. Little Black receives a message from his Indian friend Sartre before his death. The sea water is like a shot to the sky, and the giant dog will drive the whole piece into it. Take off instantly. Immediately rush to the control room to activate the monitoring satellite. The tsunami that just happened along the way. It wasn't in his predictions. Disaster is coming faster than imagined. Recalculate the number after losing new data. 28 minutes to the Doomsday tsunami. And the sea, howling altitude will approach the top of Mount Everest. Take off the banjo completely. High-level officials of various countries issue top operating decisions. The ark must be robbed in advance. This also results in bad shopping that arrives a few minutes late. No one goes to bed. Reason is in it. He found that the rafting closed early. Immediately take the lead and lead a group of rich people to storm the checkpoint. But they were too late. Rain or shine crowd. The playfulness that caused many people to fall in the previous shot. There is another generation where 2 children hide below. To avoid hopelessness, while people are desperate. Burr and his party, under the leadership of Shaoxing's brother, has come to a passage in the ark. This scene happened to be politely seen. Abandoned. Before you leave, don't forget your sexual greetings. My brother opened it with a machine and turned it into a charging port. Let's crawl inside one by one. At this moment, Black in the control room sees lightning outside the ark. Scene of. He set off to lose Saudi Arabia in the Indian tsunami. Obviously he was the first to discover the Doomsday disaster. So works, but no one took him to bed before the end. Even before I die. Notify him of emergencies. It made him feel the selfishness and desert of human nature. How can such a civilization be called a civilization? A future created in this way. How can we explain it to future generations? But now it's only 15 minutes until the end. If you open the cabin, there is a great risk of causing the destruction of the whole ship. In the event of an unpredictable chain reaction, the last spark of mankind may be explained. Here they are. Who wants to be the sinner through the ages? Public opinion. Grandma says Grandma is right. Hand is hand, not for a while, I can't make it clear. But the heads of state unanimously decided to reopen. Vast humanity should be full of warmth. It's not apathy. The school gate slowly opened. The crowd outside finally saw hope for life. Everybody flooding into the backing track. But Yuri Fusey, who is hiding in the lower half, is stupid. They can't come up until they're angry. Seeing them close. Exhaust the last bit of strength. Sent the 2 children up. You should try too hard to fall into the abyss. Things didn't go so well. The hatch suddenly shows a malfunction. Cannot close. It turns out that when the hatch was reopened earlier, John and his party are sneaking into the interior of the ark. People are pushed to the bottom of the scale. They brought the tools and grabbed in. Shaoxing brother is lucky. I just broke my leg. His mother was pureed on the spot. The machine cannot operate normally when the gear is stuck. Although there is an isolation system inside anyway. But they can't start the engine if they can't shut it off. And by then the 10,000-meter tsunami had arrived. Waves of seawater emerge. 9 ships carrying the last hope of human civilization. Noah's Ark. The village chief issued a notice for everyone to meet the impact. At this moment, Chinese manufacturing is responsible for human civilization. The major mission of Tinder continuation. With countdown to 0. The ark carried the impact of the sea. Start shaking. But under the fixed blessing of various instruments, They are still firmly holding their posts. One of them is Ark 4. But it couldn't be closed due to various accidents. Staff officer. Raging seawater pours down the gap into the interior. Instant activation of the ark's emergency isolation system. The tail of the inheritance is completely isolated. The person inside just said his next breath. The 6 dragons swept in with Air Force 1. Forbiddens hit the right end of Ark 4 in our country. The Ark was not damaged, but he also changed. Crashed into Ark 5 on the side. Although both Arks are safe and sound. But Ark 4 was also completely unsuccessful as a result. It doesn't take long to turn. Mount Everest not far away. Under the monitored bed. Can't fully withstand the impact. And the engine won't start because of the hatch. Pairing the hatch plays the only hope of survival. But now the aft is completely isolated again. ZI can only let John go to the Helmu Desert. Now John is trapped in the vantage point at the end of the warehouse. It won't be long before you drown. Dead both ways. Others immediately decided to give it a go. Also know why they can't close. So he quickly came to the position where the machine booth died. In that machine it can't be pulled out anyway. This is the son of the moon, who also came with. He reviewed lighting like a flashlight. I found out why the machine didn't move. It's because he's connected to the electric pole that's wrapped around death. John quickly loosened the screws connecting the cables. And it hit a rock corner. These 5 impact forces directly helped the voyage pull out the machine. Use recovery rotation. The hatch slowly closed. There is a hurried order to start the engine. Full speed back. But now it's only 50 meters from the impact point. Struggling under the despair of everyone. Or hit the top of Mount Everest. Glass couldn't take it and fell. It starts to break at countless years. It flipped at the last minute. The engine has also reached its peak. He weathered the tsunami. But hundreds of thousands swam back. And they turned around and got them through it again. All the crew cheered. Willing to return to Twin Mountain smoothly and everyone is happy. Human without the name opens a new era after the apocalypse. Taken on January 27, 2001. Finally no longer excited to play. The hatch is open in all directions. People are going to work overtime. With the long-lost sunshine. Breathing in cleaner air. It's just that all the land on Earth is submerged in the ocean. But according to satellite detection, soon the water will gradually recede. At that time, the Himalayas are no longer the highest mountains. In its place are the Drakensberg Mountains. The Doomsday tsunami devastated the entire African continent. It went up a whole lot. 7,000 feet. The Ark of Kyushu will go there to reperform. Open a new era of eternity. This 2012 and the day after tomorrow is called a disaster. It can be said that it is temporarily in a disaster movie. An existence that cannot be surpassed. I suggest you watch the original film directly. Feel the incomparable Christmas they bring. Gift.